So I've just been out picking all these vegetables, and the ones like this are going to have a string in them, and they're really past their prime. And I guess some people either, would compost them or whatever. These are perfect for me to feed to my Plecostomus and my Ancestris. So I get myself a pan half filled with water, and then I snap them into, like, that's a good sized piece. Snap them in. So all the big ones get reused. Saves me buying food. So this is pretty simple. Take all these ones that are too big, going to have strings, going to be tough, whatever. I'm going to pick a pot full here to do. Probably have another pot full when we actually go through and do all of them. I'm just going to grab a bunch of the easy ones. And then what I do is I put it on the stove and I bring it to a boil. And if I've got other things to do, what I do is turn it off. Once it gets to a boil, I'll turn it off. And at some point in time, I'll come back and I'll bring it to a boil again. I may have to do that 2-3 times before they're done enough that they'll sink. Once they sink, then I don't have to mess with grabbing the forks or nails or whatever to hold them down. They'll just sink on their own. So I'm really bad about boiling water and walking away and coming back and the water's all boiled away and it's made a mess. So that's just what works for me. I'll turn it on, bring it to a boil, then turn it off. It cooks because the water's still hot. I've got a couple of bags in the freezer already of beans that were too big. But, I didn't make it through the year last year. Then when you go buying beans, you can't buy the Romano beans. You're using green beans, and green beans are so scrawny that it really takes a lot, and they're kind of disappointing to work with. What do you think? Most of these are pretty much going to be good after this. Until those pods swell out. I mean, that's a great bean right there. So, that's what we're going to start with. Probably going to add a little bit more water and get these on the stove. So here they are on the stove. I added some more water and I'll put the lid on and we'll let them come to a boil for a while, and when I get ready to go do something else, I'll turn them off and let them just sit there and simmer as they slowly cool down. And this is going to give me, that's going to give me a gallon bag of really nice beans to feed to my Ancestris. Now if you're feeding zucchini, that's great, but zucchini will cloud the water, and if it's not really fresh zucchini, by the next day it's kind of fuzzy. These green beans, they're ready to go. Pole beans, green beans, you can buy them. I've cooked up frozen ones. I don't like canned green beans because they're just so mushy. They just seem to make a mess. What I really like is to cook my own. So this is what I do. Great for the Ancestris. This is David. If you like the videos, please subscribe, and happy gardening, and keep taking care of those fish. Thank you for watching. Alright, it's been about 15 minutes. Ow, ow, ow. Ow. And I just put these in. So, found a couple more. Just put those in. Got it up to a boil. This pot is really overflowing. So it's up to a boil, so I'm going to turn it off. And I'm going to walk away. And I come back in a little while and turn it back on again. So they'll slowly cook down, because all I want them to do is just get done enough that they sink. Then I don't have to use any kind of a weight to feed them to the fish. Now when the beans are done cooking, and what I do is about the second time I bring them up to a boil and let them sit, I'll peel one apart and go check and see if it sinks. It'll be hotter than a firecracker, but away you go. When they're done, you want to take a heavy towel and I lay all the beans out on the towel because I want to get them nice and dry. That way when they freeze, they're not all stuck in some big clump. I can pull them apart. Now to feed them, split them apart. If you have snails, they'll love the beans. Otherwise, compost them or whatever. I don't put them in. But if you'll split it apart, it'll sink. Otherwise, you'll have little air pockets catching here. The things won't sink. So split it. But considering these are Italian Romano beans, look at the amount of meaty bean I have here. This is just incredible. See, and there's that string, and I know you can pull the string and then cook them raw. We got plenty of beans. I grow lots of beans, so these are for the fish, and I'll put these in gallon bags, lay them out so that they're pretty flat like this, and it's easy to just take out whatever I need to feed. It's about 6 or 8 of them every day, and it gives me just fabulous food, and it's what most people wouldn't eat coming out of their garden. So that's what I do with them. Get them all nice and dry so they don't stick together when you freeze them. And we got food for several, for a week or so here, and I've got 3 or 4 other bags in the freezer already. So, Italian Romano beans for your ancestors and your Plecos, and anybody else that you would normally be feeding zucchini to. And I'll just push fish on it so we don't confuse it with the other beans. Today's date, 6/24, and there they are laid out there pretty flat, heading for the freezer.